Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and in today's video let's have a deeper look into the systems of the A300. Now I'll start by saying that due to the lack of real-world aircraft documentation available, we are going to do a lot of this based on general aircraft knowledge and some A330 knowledge in particular. So not everything we're going to do today is going to be 100% fair to the A300, so let me just put out that prerequisite right at the start of the video. Nonetheless, a lot of stuff just works the very same on about any aircraft, so I do think it is fair to carry on with these checks. Mainly our interest today is how deep are the systems simulated, how is the interaction between systems, and how is the airplane going to respond if we put it through its paces, like putting it into low speed, into high speed, or switching off certain equipment in flight. So things do promise to be interesting today, and after this video I'm sure we are going to have a better idea of what iniBuilds has really created with this A300. The video is an open approach. I have not done any actual tests before carrying out this flight, so what we're going to see is going to be exactly new for me, just like it is for you when you're watching this video. Okay, so let's go inside and let's have a look at starting up our Airbus. And here we are in the cockpit of the A300. So first things first, let's go ahead and power the airplane up. So batteries are going to come on. We don't have an external power available. We're sitting on the maintenance ramp here at New York's JFK airport. So without external power, we'll just have to carry out the safety checks, and then we're going to start the APU like that. Okay, so stuff is looking good. Then let's go ahead and do the fire test. Alright, fire test is looking good. And then, waiting for the test to complete, here we go. APU master switch on and APU starter on. Okay, and here we go. So, the APU will take a little while to start up. When it's available, we will have power on our airplane. In the meantime, let's go ahead and set up a couple of lights, because I don't believe we're going to need any of them today. So I'll just switch them off over here. And one more in the back. Okay, cool. So APU is coming up, and as soon as it is available, we can go forward with the rest of our checks. Let's have a look at the mechanical indicator there. Okay, it's still starting. It's really nice to see, when thinking about all those maintenance features of the plane, that the event counter up here is actually counting my number of APU starts, and the operating hours are actually locked from my actual usage of the APU down here. So this basically shows that the maintenance features are working and saving even in between our different aircraft types. So right now, this is the first time for me flying the American Airlines livery, but you can see that it's counting across all the different liveries. Okay, so APU is working, oil quantity is full, the engine oil quantity is looking good as well. Let's go ahead and set the markers as per the SOP. Okay, markers are set on both sides. Enough ADC, that's expected. And we can just turn on the IRSs so that the alignment process can start. Very good. Okay, align IRS, and that's what we're doing, my friend. So, just a quick check through the menu over here. It's an A300-600. The database is up to date for the Happy New Year. And then we can go at KJFK, and we'll return to JFK as well later on. And for alternate, we got Philadelphia today. Okay, coordinates are looking decent, align IRS. Very good. So, the alignment process is now in the works. Let's go ahead with a couple of our checks. The FO would be heading out for the walk around, but for the sake of completeness, we're just going to do it real quick here. So, let's just head down to the front wheel, looking good. Main wheel looking good. Brake indicator pins looking good. And we'll quickly check the same on the other side. Pins looking good. Wheels looking good. Okay. Today we want to focus on what's going on in the inside of the plane. So that's why I'm kind of running through the outside checks real quick here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the very first look, which is at the ILAG AC page. So it's got the APU generator running over here, and it is powering the bus number 1 and number 2, which is powering the TRs in return. Now, voltage 115 and 395 Hz looks pretty much good. Note that the Hertz can vary a little bit. That's totally normal, so 395 versus the normal 400 is totally acceptable over here. Okay, what's interesting though is that the top over here is showing almost 0. I mean, is that just because we got barely any electrics running, or is there another reason for that? Okay, quick look at the ILAG DC page as well then. And we've got power running through both TRs and the essential TR feeding the normal bus. Okay. Battery voltage is looking okay. The amperage is as well. So what we can just try is to turn the batteries off and on again, and that should have an influence on the amperage. So let's give that a try. Off and on. Nothing happens, okay. What I would have expected is that the amperage is going to go up and then slowly going to go back down. Because normally the amperage right now should show that the batteries are charging, but the charging process usually is reinitiated when the system is reset. But okay. So that is that. Well, so another thing that we can check over here is going to the condition page. So right now you can see it's pretty cold inside. The airplane is trying to give us hot air, but obviously it got no source of hot air because the APU bleed is not running at the moment. So let's turn it on. Okay, hot air is coming pretty much straight away. Let's see how long it's going to take for the cockpit and the cabin to start warming up over here. I would give it about a minute or so until I would expect some reasonable results here. Obviously with the doors still open, we are going to get some continuous cooling coming in, so that is expected. Outside temperature, as you can see on the eCam, is 3 degrees only, so it's not the hottest of all days here, but hey, recording this right on the brink of 2023, 2024, so in deep winter. Alright, temperatures are coming, the cabin is cooling at a slower rate than the cockpit, it seems to me, which is quite to be expected since the cockpit is a smaller space, and since the pack number 1 is dedicated mostly to the cockpit and only secondary to the cabin, while pack number 2 is doing the cabin, which in turn obviously needs a little bit more air. Let's have a look at the bleed page where we can see that in action. So it's the APU bleed feeding both systems. The thrust bleed valve has opened automatically, as we can see up here. Both systems running on high mode, which is correct for APU operation. So that's looking quite good. And obviously the engine bleeds are closed, but don't be surprised, we still get a pressure and a temperature here because the air can backflow down here in the system. So that seems correct indications to me. So, how's the temperature doing? 23 in the cockpit, 16 in the cabin. Looks about fine. let's just go ahead and switch that APU bleed off again, and I just want to see what's going to happen. So, I would expect the cockpit to take some 5 minutes or so to cool back down, even though we obviously got the door open, which is an interesting thing to check. So, let's close the door, and let's see if that's gonna have any difference here. So 21 degrees right now. We'll come back to that in like a minute or so, and then we'll see. In the meantime, let's go ahead with a couple of systems checks. So we'll start with the annunciator light test. Okay. So give me some lights, please. And then I would say we can just about start loading up and configuring our airplane. So a quick leap over into the settings. We're going to use Imperial settings here, since we're flying an American Airlines plane, and we'll also be using inches. Okay then, let's go ahead and import the flight straight from SimBrief. Altimeter 29902, that's very good, and then we can go over to the weight and balance menu. Update that from SimBrief, please. We don't have any passengers on board. In terms of fuel, we're going to take 40,000 pounds. And apply that to the airplane, please. Okay, fueling is ongoing, 10 minutes to run. So, quick look on the fuel page to have a look at how they're actually distributing the fuel. And talk about distributing the fuel, let's just give it the inner tank pump number 2 so that it can actually supply the APU with means of the electric driven pump and not the APU driven pump. I would have expected a response over here now, by the way. I would have expected one. Ah, no, we don't have fuel in the inner tank yet. Looks like it's refueling the outer tanks first. Okay, well, in that case we'll just go a little while. Interesting though, since the APU seems to be drawing from the inner tanks, not the outer tanks. But, hey, we'll just keep an eye on this. Okay, so, while refueling is in progress, let's go ahead and do a quick setup of our flight deck. Seatbelts are gonna stay off. Hydraulic quantities are looking good. It seems to me that the blue hydraulic system quantity is slowly decreasing here. Now, it used to start somewhere over here when I did my first flight with the plane, and now it's down here into that arc. So, just a little observation I made. So these maintenance functions do seem to be working. Now, just a quick check though, perhaps I am also a little bit imagining things. But looking at this, doesn't give us the percentage unfortunately, but it shall be fine. It shall be fine. Can we see a difference? No, not really, huh? Okay, well, we're just going to keep an eye on that, and that's it. Okay, cool. So, refueling is going on then. So, next thing I want to have a quick look at is the hydraulic electric pump. So, let's bring up the hydraulic page down here on the eCam. Got full quantity, as we can see, and the system is not pressurized. So, what we're going to do here on the ground is just a quick check that all the PTUs are working as they should. So if we turn on the green electric pump, then system is powering up. I expect a little bit less than the normal 3000 psi from the electrics, but looks like this one is able to supply it. I can't comment on how realistic that is or not, but well. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the PTUs. We're going to start with the blue system here first. Interesting. Shouldn't that be the engine-driven pump symbol down there? do believe it should. Or is that the... No, I'm pretty sure that's the engine drum pump. Wait a moment. We can find that out. Yep. See, that's the engine drum pump down there, which turned green through the PTU. I'm not sure if that's meant to be that way, so I can't comment on if it's a bug or a feature. It's simply an observation right now. Okay, let's try the other side and see what we're going to get over there. Same thing, look at that. The symbol for the engine drum pump is turning green as the PTU is powering the system. But okay, can we... Yeah, look at that. The engine driven pump is no longer showing the low pressure light either. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if there is any backflow of the pressure possible here. I wouldn't expect it, but perhaps it is. So remember, it's just an observation. I'm not sure if it's correct or not. But if you check, for example, the green hydraulic system, which also has engine-driven pumps for both engine number 1 and engine number 2, those are still showing the low pressure, even with the electric pump being enabled up here. But okay. Observation made. Let's turn the pumps back off. And look at that, now you get the low pressure light as well. And yeah, obviously it's giving us a bing, it's losing hydraulics intentionally. Okay, cool. We'll play a little bit more with the hydraulics when we're in flight, so for now that shall suffice while we're looking at the system. Okay then, flight recorder ground control can come on, then let's move forward. The lights are on. Okay, and the script test looking good. Everything up here looking good as well. Let's just take a moment and have a look at how the electrical panel actually works up here. So, let's see. We'll start with the batteries, and I want to check my battery voltage, which is showing... Well, what's that? 27, 28, 28 and a half volts over here. Let's just compare that to the DC page, see that we got the same numbers. 27. Yeah. I suppose 27 should be more like over here on the gauge. Well, all the gauge may just be stuck. That could obviously also be. Okay. But if we switch to the APU gen over here, then those are at least working, it seems. So, looking at about 115 volts, just under 400 hertz, minus a little bit, so that's fine, and we obviously do have a load on the AC generator, so that seems logical. Let's switch back to the emergency bus now, which is where they want the switch to stay by default. Okay then, so back to our overhead. We got the APU, and let's just turn the bleeds on again. Quick look at the condition page. 15 degrees in the cockpit, so it looks like the temperature is decreasing at a reasonable rate. That seems fine to me. Okay, and now with the bleed operating again, we're just going to open that door. And that's it. Okay, so on the ground, outflow valves are showing fully open. That is what I would expect. Refueling is still in progress, so we cannot turn on the fuel pumps quite yet. We'll just let that run. We did the APU fire test already. And we'll disregard VHF3 for now. CVR test. Needle is coming up, looking good. Okay, well, not too much to check on the air conditioning panel, honestly. Zero differential pressure, obviously. Cabin altitude, or cabin vertical speed, might vary a little bit while the APU bleed is established, so that's normal. And the cabin altitude is, of course, showing field elevation, which is 0 in New York. Okay, window heat and probe heat can come on. Unfortunately, in the version I'm using to record this, the oxygen supply button is stuck and off, so you can't change that. Quick check over the engine 2 fire loops. Looking good. And then we can check the squib as well. Again, looking good. Okay, cockpit door is obviously showing open, since that's what it is. By the way, talk about cockpit door. Let's just try something. Let's close it. Okay, the open light is out. Okay, well, from the inside you're always able to open it, so I'm not gonna pay too much attention to this. Okay then, moving on the side over here. Compass, standby compass lights. Do they do something? Shouldn't it be right here? Okay, not sure. Okay. Cool. Let's play a little bit with the bleed system. I'm gonna close the cross bleed here. Pack 2 valve is coming off. It's interesting that the sound is going back that much. Normally pack 1 should be providing air to the cockpit, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see pack 1 is still operating down here. Unless it is different on the A300, of course, that might be. But just from a check, it looks like the air is tied to pack number 2. So let's try that. I'm going to switch off pack 1. Now let's just switch the packs over. Yeah, listen to that. The sound of the air seems to be tied at pack number 2. If that is realistic or not, I don't know. It might be. But that's just a little observation here. Okay, so panel is looking good. Then we can go ahead with the main panel. I'm going to dim the displays a little bit. They do seem rather bright to me. Okay, erect that standby. Now, from previous videos we are already aware how the chocks work in this plane, so I'm just going to get rid of them. Okay, release the brakes, and now I want to try something. So, any skid to alternate, and when we manually press the brakes, we're looking, or we need to get at least 1000 psi, normally more like 2000. And of course, every time we press the brakes, you can see the accumulator pressure discharge. Let's see how many brake pressure application we got. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that is actually 8. Okay, so 8 was the maximum. Now I can do with my brakes whatever I want, and we're not getting any brake pressure anymore. Now, for the sake of the fun of it, if I put the chocks in place again. Okay, they do stay at 0. That's fine. Back to primary, and then we can use the electric pump to recharge accumulator pressure. Okay. Park brake set, and we are getting pressure again. So 7 applications is the minimum as per the Airbus AFCOM. We did have 8 available, that's totally fine. As I mentioned, 7 is the minimum, so a little bit more surely isn't wrong. Okay then, going ahead on the main panel, landing elevation is going to stay at 0. We'll do the landing gear warning test. Okay, system 1 fault, use system 2. If we switch it over to system 2 and run the test. System 2 fault, use system 1. Perfect. Okay, so that's looking good. Cool, then we can continue on the pedestal. I'm going to leave the radios as they are over here. Not exactly sure what that is, to be honest. Yes, you just heard me say, I had a system where I didn't know what it was. Happens to the best. Okay, cool. So that's about the system checks I wanted to do. In the meantime, refueling should be completed. Yes, it is. So let's turn on all those fuel pumps as well. Okay, cool. So, that much about the system setup. Then we can start with our FMS. So we're going to do a manual input here today of our flight plan, and not a SimBrief uplink. Could obviously always do SimBrief, but if I'm honest with you guys, then I do prefer to do this stuff manually, especially when doing maintenance flights like we are doing right now. Okay, so Costa Next is going to be 10. Cruising initially at flight level 180, later we are going to climb to a higher level, and we are the American 306. Very creative, I know. Okay, average wind 271 at 31. Okay, we are going to depart off the runway 31 left, which is what they're using in the real world at the time of this recording. 31 left, JFK 5 departure, insert, and then our routing is going to lead us to Graki. From Graki, direct Judd. This is a real world maintenance check flight routing, by the way. Found a real world flight plan for this. Okay, then Charlie Alpha Mike, and it's definitely the one on the west coordinates here. Okay, and from there, Bravo Tango Victor. Alpha Lima Bravo. And that gotta be the lower one here. Interesting that the frequencies are not showing correctly, by the way. Gotta be 115.3, I suppose. Okay, and from there, India Golf November, and that is where we are going to join the arrival. And this again, gotta be the one with the west coordinates, so that one. Okay, JFK, star. It's going to be 3-1 right for the arrival, so let's see what we got. An ILS. India Golf November 1. And we can take the cathode transition, insert, and that's our routing. Okay, for the secondary flight plan, I am likewise going to make it KJFK towards KJFK. Now, on a maintenance flight, this is obviously especially important, because we want to make sure that we've got the engine out procedure in case we need it. So, we're departing 31 left. And then we can insert that. Okay, so KJFK 31 left slash 313 slash 25 miles. By the way, interesting to note at this point is that this is called PBD06 now. That's because it remembered all the waypoints we created on my earlier flights. So it's actually remembering this stuff. That's quite nice. Okay, and for an immediate re-landing, we're going to take the ILS 3-1 left as well here. Sorry, 3-1 right, I meant. Okay, don't need a star, insert that. Perfect. Alright, cool. Then let's go on via the init page, onto init B, and we've got 40,000 pounds of block fuel. So, zero fuel weight, we can take it straight away since we don't really need a... load sheet, that's what I meant. Okay, so 197.3, which is basically an empty airplane. And the CG of that stuff is going to be 24.7. Alright, we'll leave all the stuff on automatic. Maximum level 390, optimum level 382, and we're going to climb to these levels later during the flight. And we got 41 minutes of extra fuel on board. Perfect. Okay, let's do some takeoff performance calculation here. Runway 31 left, and it's a dry runway. All of that stuff is looking good. Flaps, we'll probably be able to take 15 and 0. Calculate. 66, 66, 69 at 63 degrees flex temperature. Okay, 166, 166, and 169. To be fair, it does seem rather fast to me. But it still says up here, kilogram. I'm not sure if... Let me just try something. We'll just put in a little bit less of a weight here. Just want to see. No, it stays at the same speeds. Interesting. Okay, well, in that case, we'll just hit sync again. Let's see different flap settings. Okay, that's what we'll do. Now, I want to do air conditioning off though for the takeoff. So 65 degrees flex now, 66, 66, 69. And that is what we've got. And a 65 degree flex takeoff. Like that, it's looking good. Alright, cool. So all that lovely stuff is set up. Thrust reduction, acceleration, give me 1020 each, please. And clean speed 191. But let's go ahead and pre-select 250 straight away. Oh, come on. Here we go. Alright, cool. So that's our FMS setup, pretty much completed. Let's just see, do we have any of these pages available here? No. Okay. Well, so be it. It's fine the way it is, so that's that. Perfect. So I tend to say we're good to go. Everything is set up over here. Let's see that we can find a departure chart. Okay, Kennedy 5 departure. Top altitude 5,000, and that's what we've got already. Okay, and for the initial climb of 31 left is up here. Well, we don't really have anything here, so right hand turn 090, idle wide climb, looks good to me. So let's go ahead and just pre-select our runway heading here for the departure, and then when in the air we can always switch it around. Okay, 303 selected, and that's it. Cool. All right then. I tend to say we're good to go. Let's go ahead and read the checklist, and then we'll close the doors and make our way. I'll tell you what, we're gonna close those doors first. It still hits me that the checklist in the A300 is showing slightly different than in the A310. If you look at the A300 checklist, you've got windows and doors above the line, while on the A310 it's below the line. I wonder if that's just a little hiccup, or if that's actually intentional, but either way we're going to work with the checklists we've got available. So, doors are closing, flight deck door is closed already. GSX, you can start preparing for pushback and departure. No, we don't need de-icing treatment. Okay. So, arm all the doors. Here we go. Chocks can go as well. And the park and brake are set. Very good. Okay, before start checklist to the line. Cockpit prep completed. Fuel quantity 39,900 pounds. Takeoff data set. Landing elevation 0. Altimeters 2992 reading 20. Brake and anti-skid normal on. Windows and doors closed. Before start checklist complete to the line. Ground from cockpit. Go ahead. So, please confirm doors and hatches closed, ground equipment removed, and bypass pin is installed. Yes, sir, that's all confirmed. Roger, we'll get the clearance. Stand by. We're actually on a ramp, so we don't need any clearance at all here, making our life even easier. Okay, ground cockpit. Go. So, we're clear to push and start, and the parking brake is set. Before start checklist below the line. Beacon on, parking brake set, before start checklist complete. So, what's GSX doing? They do look ready to me. Okay. Parking brake released. Interesting, they start lifting our nose by the time that we release the parking brake. Now that is not correct. Normally the nose should be lifted while the brake is set, so that the airplane cannot just roll away. Well. In any case, they are cleared. They're cleared to push and start. So, what's going on? Lovely, now it doesn't recognize our pushback anymore. Is GSX broken once again? Let's see, brake set. Brake released. Yes, GSX is broken once again. Okay, brake set. Restart Throttle. Lovely. What's just happened? Well, the APU is still running, that's the most important point here. Crap yet on that GSX. Okay, so then we just start on position, I suppose. Okay, here we go. Engine 2 start. N2. Hold pressure. N1. Okay, good start in engine number 2. Let me just take a small moment, have a look at a couple of pages. So if we've got a look at this now, the APU generator is feeding bus number 1, while the engine-driven generator on number 2 is feeding AC bus number 2. On the DC page we shouldn't see any change, and we don't. And finally, if we take a quick look at the bleed page, we can see that since the APU bleed is on, the engine bleeds are still turned off. Okay. Engine 1 start. N2. Oil pressure. And 1. Ground cockpit. 2 good starts. Clear disconnect. Clear signal left hand side with a pin. And have a good one. So anti-ice can stay off for now, but we'll probably need it after takeoff. And the trim. Let's see, what do we need? 0.2 down. Like so. Alright, after start checklist. Pitch trim, 0.2 down set. Rudder trim, 0. Spoilers, armed. Slats flaps, 15 and 0. And ecam status checked. Anti-ice off, hand signal received. After start checklist complete. Clear left side, clear right side. Okay, brake released. I do expect the plane to taxi in idle thrust. Okay, brake check. Pressure 0. Then let's turn out to the right. So that's a full tiller input right now. The wheel seems to be going rather straight, so that seems alright. Now look at the radius at which the plane can turn. Look at the inner gear down there. That's almost at a constant place. That seems correct behavior to me. Okay, so maximum tiller input seems to behave correct to me. Little oversteering technique here, since we are sitting quite far in front of the main wheels. Okay. And off we go. Obviously we're accelerating quite quickly here. That's an interesting turn to take. I wonder who came up with something like that. Okay, so looking for 31 left, so that's going to be a right-hand turn onto Bravo, southbound. Clear right side, clear left side. Okay, so looking for a little straight line so that we can actually do a little test of the alternate braking system, just to see how that is going to work. But first of all, we gotta get out of that little alley over here. Okay then. I do believe we can take Alpha, but I'm not 100% sure on the standard taxiway system at JFK right now, so if I'm taking the wrong taxiway, then I do apologize, but do let me know in the comments below. Hard to see anything here. We gotta guesstimate a little bit. I need to use a lot of brake applications here to keep the airplane under control. It wants to taxi really quickly. And you can see the brakes are slowly starting to heat up. 35 degrees right now. I would actually expect them to heat up a little bit more, to be honest, because I am using quite a lot of brakes. But we'll see. When we get to the runway and we got like 100 degrees brake temperature or something, then I do believe that is certainly expected. Of course, when thinking about the brake temperatures, we also need to keep in mind that the airplane is at a very light weight at the moment. So even though we might be braking often, we are still not disposing of too much energy. Keep in mind, energy is mass times speed squared, so since the mass is not that high, the energy obviously isn't either. Okay, so long straight line, that's what I've been looking for. Let's switch to the alternate brake system for a moment. Now we should actually see a response on the triple indicator. So let's try. And we do get one. Very good. Just a little testing here. Seems okay to me. The accumulator pressure stays where it is because the alternate brake system is powered from the hydraulics, and the hydraulics are operating now, so we don't see a decrease in the accumulator pressure. I'm just going to alternate down here. Same thing. Okay, so everything works as expected on the brakes. So let's go back to the normal system. Brake check. Pressure 0. Okay, that's looking quite good. Exactly what I've expected, to be honest. Then let's go ahead with a flight control check. Okay. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right. Actually, was it? Yes. Full right, neutral. Okay, we can't really do the rudder here on the ground, but that's fine. Okay. Let's do takeoff config test. Takeoff test normal. Cool. In that case, B4 takeoff checklist down to the line, please. Flight controls, checked. Flight instruments, checked. Briefing, confirmed. V1, VRV2 flex temp. 66, 66, 69, flex 65. Slots and flaps, 15 and 0. Takeoff config, normal. B4 takeoff checklist complete down to the line. Now we're getting really fast here. Okay then, crossing 4 left. Strobe lights on. Clear left side. Clear right side. Okay then, we can take any of those intersections for the departure and then we are good to go. Something I did figure in the iniBuilds is you just need to press that auto thrust button for the auto thrust to engage after takeoff. Okay then, line up and wait. It is getting rather dark now, is it? So let's just go ahead and turn those lights back on. Okay, clear left side, clear right side, transponder coming on, lights coming on, okay, stopped, brake set. Then let's turn the packs off. We did calculate a packs off takeoff. Before takeoff checklist below the line. Transponder, set, TCAS, Tara, auto brake, max, ignition, off. Before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, air, pack 1 and 2 fault. That is obviously associated. Clear air. Okay. Before takeoff checklist complete. Are you ready? Takeoff. Stabilized. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set, indications normal. Oh, what's the engines doing? I believe that little bump on the runway there caused the auto thrust to disconnect. Obviously that shouldn't happen. V1, rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Okay, right turn 090. Ground thrust selected. Autopilot on, slap 0. Speed check, slap 0. And I should have turned the landing lights on. Okay, continue climb, 10,000 feet. Beautiful looking terrain, isn't it? I really love that. Okay, so we left the packs off intentionally here. Look at that, the cabin is climbing at about 200 to 300 feet a minute. That looks quite nice to me. Differential pressure is slowly building, but that is of course simply because the air doesn't leak from the cabin as quickly as the aircraft is climbing. Okay, engine anti-ice on. And for that we definitely need packs now, so let's turn them on. Let's see what happens. Okay, vertical speed comes under control. And now it should fly the airplane back onto the normal cabin pressurization schedule. Okay. So we made it out. Let's turn left again, 360. And climb to 15,000. I'll tell you what, we're going to go to 18,000 straight away, which is where we are going to do our first couple of checks. We'll fly to Graki in a moment. 30 for now. like that. Okay, so we can't do any of our exercises in the air here for as long as we're in the New York terminal area. So for that reason, let's go 300 knots. Let's try and get clear of the area as quickly as possible. And then once we're clear of everything, we can go ahead and do our system checks. For now, suffice to say that except for that little bump on the takeoff roll, which caused auto thrust to disconnect, but I believe, knowing Microsoft Flight Simulator, it probably just catapulted the airplane into the air, and that's probably how it disconnected, so I can't even really blame him, can I? Well, so the belts have been off all the time, we don't have passengers on board anyway. Okay, so let's turn to profile mode. And it reverts. Oh yeah, it can't do profile without doing nav. My mistake. So let's go direct to Graki now. Okay, direct to Graki, insert nav, profile. Alright. So, two things for us to check on the FMS here while we're doing this. First one is going to be the two modes. So we got minimum fuel and minimum time. Go minimum time, it should go all the way, yep, 5 knots below the maximum speed, which is doing right now. And then later on we are going to try the minimum fuel. But first, let's just go ahead, climb to 18,000, leave the New York terminal area, and once we're clear of that, we are going to run a couple of system checks for which we need to be at some lower altitude, and then later on we are going to climb to a higher altitude and see what's going to happen over there. Okay, display brightness can come up again a little bit now that we're on top of the clouds. I don't think we're going to need those lights anymore. It just got really dark down there on the runway, and for that reason I did turn my lights up. Alright, and the FO side. Okay, cool. So, approaching vertical speed, and that is where we can do our first check here. Let's see how quick the airplane is to respond to inputs. So down to 1,000 feet a minute, and iniBuilds did say already that the airplane is going to respond only rather gradually, and that is actually correct. So this behavior over here looks pretty similar to what I would expect the airplane to do, based on all the aircraft that I've flown. So that's actually quite cool. Okay, then it will level off in a few moments. Here we go. Profile speed, I'll start. Okay, we are well clear of any clouds. We are slowly getting clear of the New York terminal area. So we can go ahead and carry out a couple of checks. Profile out. Okay, speed is coming down to the predicted cruising speed. That's expected. But let's just go selected and we'll do something like 310, just in order to get clear of the New York area. Because I want to do a little bit of air work in a few moments, and we can not really do that well when we've got so many airports next to us. We'll need a block altitude as well, so that much about it. Okay, so we are in the air now. Engine anti-ice can absolutely come off. So let's go ahead and run a couple of checks. Cabin altitude has leveled at about 2,000 feet. Differential pressure is looking good. Now, this is the first thing we can do. Let's go into manual cabin pressure here. Then let's start to get a cabin down. You can give me something like a 500 feet a minute rate of descent. Maybe 1,000 is also going to be fine. And like that, the differential pressure is now going to start increasing. What I want to see is that by the time the differential pressure reaches maximum, we are going to see it rise until the red line and a tiny bit beyond, but not much further. What's there on the cam? Status, cabin pressure, manual control. Yeah, clear. Okay, we do have a status page here. That is expected, of course. Okay, and now when we have a look at the pressurization page, interesting that we're getting the access. I would believe those to work. And look at that, the outflow valves are now completely closed. But what I really want to see is the safety valve up here. You can see differential pressure is slowly rising, and eventually that is going to reach maximum. We might have to pump the cabin into the negative, but let's see about it. This is really wait and see now until something is going to happen. Okay, in the meantime, we're about to reach Graki, then we'll do the right hand turn towards Juds and then left to Charlie Alpha Mike. That's good. Okay, so speed we can just increase, 320 is going to do as well. Okay, so while we're waiting for the pressurization system, just a quick look outside, because I do believe the plane looks really, really beautiful, doesn't it? Especially that American bare metal livery here, something I really like. Now talking about American and A300s, maybe there's something more that we can check while we're still on the way out to Graki, and that is the rudder input advisory. I'm sure you're all going to remember that case of American Airlines flight 593 that crashed just after takeoff at JFK because the co-pilot used extensive rudder inputs on it. Now, let's get the speed down towards 250 so that we don't break the airplane straight away. And then we'll see if we can get the stop rudder input to trigger. What happened in the case of that air crash then? Well, the A300 entered wake turbulence from a preceding heavy aircraft, and back in the time it was American Airlines philosophy to use rudder pedal input aggressively to counter the wake turbulence. Now, what that did is it overstressed the rudder because of the continuous left and right movements. It overstressed the rudder until eventually the entire rudder and vertical stabilizer broke off the aircraft. Without them, the plane was uncontrollable, and then it came down in the Bronx, and that happened just 2 months after 9/11, if I'm not mistaken. So, really unfortunate accident. Okay, so we are at 250 knots right now. Got like 9 miles to judge. Let's go ahead and disconnect the autopilot. And let's see now what is going to happen. So, I will just use a little bit of rudder. And after the first or second rudder reversal, I would expect the stop rudder input warning to come on. So let's give that a try. And at the same time, let's also bring up the flight control page. And maintain altitude. Okay, so here we go. Left, right. You can see how strong the airplane reacts to this. Left, right. Eventually, this thing should say stop rudder inputs. The real airplane needed 5 inputs until the vertical stabilizer was gone. Looks like this one might need a little more. Okay, just quickly gotta fly that turn at over Jods. And level it back off at 18,000. That's the reason why I would normally request the block altitude for stuff like this. It's very easy to lose some altitude, and you don't want to be raping all your controls in order to maintain altitude precisely while you're doing a check like that. That's only exercising additional forces on the airplane, which in turn can cause an even greater potential for something to break. Okay, anyway, we'll just fly back onto the route, and then we're going to try that test again. Well, we might obviously just quickly test the system as well.
Stop running input. Stop running input.
Okay, so the system itself works. Well, let's try if we can get that to come up by doing rudder inputs. Also, have a look at the flight control page down there and the actual rudder input we get. You can see the rudder travel limiter is quite active.
Stop running input.
Oh yeah, first reversal and straight away it comes up. Okay, so the thing is working. I'm just not 100% sure why it didn't work on the first attempt, but, well, so be it. Okay then. Command 1. Autopilot is back in control. Let's have a look at our pressurization system. So the cabin pressure is right now 3,500 feet negative, and the system is just limiting it there. But, as you can see, exactly at the amber range, so the system is actually protecting itself right now. That is basically what we wanted to see. So the safety valve did not yet open because we are just in the amber and the system is nicely protecting us over there. Okay, very good. Let's go back into automatic. Obviously the cabin is going to start climbing again, quite aggressively even, plus 1,000 feet a minute. So I would say that check is a pass. Okay, the next thing we can do then is to turn off the packs and see what is going to happen now. So pack 1 off, pack 2 off. Cabin is slightly climbing with the packs off. Differential pressure will very slowly decrease. The outflow valves went to fully closed. So that's looking quite good. Okay then. Let's clear that. What I want to see is the pressurization page. That cabin is climbing at about 400 feet a minute. Differential is slowly decreasing. The cabin is coming up. That looks pretty okay to me. Okay, so packs can come back on. Alright, so the APU in this airplane can be started all the way up to 40,000 feet, but we don't even need to go that high yet for it. What we are going to do is we'll just fire the APU up straight over here and see how long it is going to take to actually start up. So APU must switch on. Then let's hit the APU starter, and we can start timing down here as well. And let's see how long it is going to take for the APU to start up. Okay, start sequence is initiated after about 15 seconds. It does seem rather slow to me to start, but that's expected. And by now we are past Judd, so we are clear of the we are now clear of the New York terminal area. So once we have the APU started, so once that test is complete, and when the cabin altitude has increased a little bit again, this does seem to be taking quite some time for me. Let's just go to manual and have the cabin climb a little bit faster. Looking for about 1,000 feet a minute here. Man, pretty hard to control that. Look at this. Looks like the cabin altitude is just varying between 1,500 and 0. That's interesting. That is not how it is supposed to go. You are supposed to be able to control this a little bit finer. Like in the 737 it was really itchy. A little input like what I'm doing now would be about 500 feet a minute in the 737, but this is not a 737. And as far as I know, pretty much all Airbus aircraft are doing a much better job. Okay, well, I don't care. Let's put it back into automatic, and that's it. So, APU is running. So the APU test is successful, then we can shut it back down. And we can go over to the more interesting stuff. So, let's go ahead and start with an overspeed and a low speed test. So, auto thrust is going. Then, power all the way to max. We'll set MCT on the thrust rating computer as well, 106.4. Let's see what's going to happen. Speed is coming up nicely. We'll wait for the protections to kick in, and the airplane should go and start a climb when we go into the overspeed. Let's see what's going to happen. So, speed is coming up high. 10 knots to go. We'll run right into the overspeed intentionally. Okay, the warning comes up. VMO 340 knots. And it's starting to climb to prevent a further overspeed. If the A300 is similar to the A330, then about 20 knots overspeed margin is what the airplane should accept. So VMO 340, as you can see, and it's doing about 360. So that does seem like a reasonable response from the airplane. Okay then, let's try the same in the opposite direction. Thrust idle. We're just going to level it off over here. Let's make that 21,000, please. Alt star. I might have pulled it a little bit late, so if it slightly overshoots, then that's fine as well. Even though this response is very gradual. Would expect it to be a little bit quicker. Okay, now let's see what's going to happen when we get into the low speed regime. Yeah, just go alt hold. And when this test is completed, next up we're going to see what happens when we play with the flight controls and the hydraulics. So that's going to be when things are going to get really interesting. We need to do those tests below 20,000 though, so I will simply use the stall recovery in order to get back down to our target of 18,000. For now, speed is coming back nicely. I will let the autopilot fly the airplane because it should eventually disengage itself if it cannot prevent the stall. But we will see about that. Let's help the plane a little bit. Some speed brake here. Actually, we'll just go full speed brake. Help the speed get down. Okay, getting towards the low speed end of things. When we're getting really close, I'm going to retract the speed brake. That should have an influence on the low speed bar, by the way. So speed brake's coming in. Okay, now let's see what's going to happen. We're reaching VLS. Speed is getting lower, speed is getting lower. Reaching Alpha Max, autopilot disengaged. Okay. And recovering. I need a lot of forward input right now. Like this is neutral. This is quite a bit of forward input. At least it certainly feels like it. Okay, so that is recovered. Now let's go ahead, turn the flight director off. And what we'll do now is we'll actually get it all the way into the stall warning. Let's go 10 degrees pitch up. Just hold it there. And let's see what is going to happen. You should be getting a warning now. Okay. Thrust is increasing automatically. And the plane is protecting itself. Even though it happened a little bit into the low speed, so it happened like 10 knots below the Alpha Max, but all that matters is it did trigger the protection. Very good. So, auto thrust off, thrust back down to idle. Let's descend to 18,000 again. And then we're going to start playing with the hydraulic systems. See what we can cause over there. We want the speed back at 250, so if we go 5 degrees down, we should get that quickly. Even with idle thrust. $1,000 to go. And we will recover. Thrust should be somewhere about 70% if I'm not mistaken. So let's see, 18,000, thrust about 70%-ish. 245 knots, looks good to me. Okay, so now we are going to play a little bit with the flight controls and with switching a couple of the hydraulics on and off. First of all, a quick check at the pressurization. That is back under control. Okay, so pressurization is working again. Also worth pointing out, by the way, a lot of flight sim add-ons, once you take them out of the automatic modes and go into manual, you play around with them, so you get them off their programmed schedule, then they often show issues going back in a proper automatic operation. Looks like that is not the case on the A300 here. Okay, so what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to start examining a little bit of the stuff of the flight model. So, let's do a 45-degree bank turn, and I'm going to keep the thrust untouched. If the airplane behaves correctly, then what happens is that we should start to lose airspeed. And we do. Look at that. Okay, let's do 60 degrees bank. I would expect the low speed margin to come up, and it does. Okay, recover. So give me some thrust, let's go back towards 18,000. Looking good. Okay then, Next up, as we could see, we did not have any bank angle protections, but I'm not sure if the A300 should have them. Let's just try that once more. This time we will add a bit of thrust. Okay, no bank angle warnings or anything the likes. Oh, come on, FS realistic. There's nobody on board to complain here. Okay, so that's looking good. Now let's go ahead and let's have a look at the maximum rate at which the airplane can roll. So let's bring the flight control page up, and everything's trimmed out. So I'm going to use full aileron. Remember the rate at which the airplane is going to roll, and if you find the time, also have a little look down here at the ECAM and the spoiler extension. So let's go. Full left, full right, and that is what we can get from the airplane. So now, let's go ahead and turn a couple of those flight spoilers off. Remember, we're getting the roll spoilers 3 through 7. Those are the ones that are extending there. So let's go ahead and find those. So, spoiler and speed brake. Now I've just turned them all off. As you can see, they're showing amber on the ECAM, and we get all the spoiler off information down there. The ECAM actually calls for the procedure spoiler fault. Okay, let's clear those for now. What else do we have on the status? That's okay. So, now that we no longer have the roll spoilers, we should observe a roll rate that is significantly less than what we have seen previously. So let's go ahead and do the test. Full left, full right, well, I tend to say that's not a big difference. I would have expected a much greater difference, to be honest. For the simple fact that the airplane should have a lot less capability. Let's just see from the outside. Okay, I don't really seem to see any difference there. So let's just go ahead and turn them back on. Let's just verify our test. Spoilers are available again. That's exactly the same, is it? And they certainly do show to be extending over here, so, well. That much about the roll spoilers, so they don't seem to have an effect on the flight model. Okay then, let's turn northbound again, and this time we are going to run another check, and that is the alternate landing gear extension. So, normal gear extension is allowed until 20,000 feet. Alternate extension is as well. That's the reason, or that's part of the reasons why we stayed that low down here. Also, we wanted to avoid the math effects that we would gather at higher airspeed. Oh, sorry, at higher true airspeeds, so at higher altitudes. Okay, let's turn the flight directors back on. Okay, heading 310, altitude hold. Okay, autopilot is on. Let's actually make that heading 360, please. And now let's go ahead and interesting that the flight director is pulling aft, but okay. So we'll get the speed down towards 220. Auto thrust can take over for that. We don't need to use manual thrust for this. And as soon as our speed is down, let's give it a try. So in order for the alternate gear extension to work, we got that little handle down here. Just correcting the course a little bit more. Let's do 040 the likes. Into the direction of Bravo Tango Victor. That's looking good. Okay, so Our speed has reduced, perfect. Then let's go ahead and carry out the check. So, the landing gear lever is up and neutral, and let's pretend that we wanted to extend the landing gear, but it's not coming down. And we've got the alternate gear extension handle located over there. Let's put that in place. And here it is. And now, when we rotate it, the landing gear is going to free fall down into position. Now, what's interesting here as well, when using the alternate gear extension, the landing gear doors should stay in the extended positions, so it shouldn't retract. Let's go ahead and try that. So let's see it from the outside. Okay, that's exactly what I expected to see. The gear doors are staying down, which is causing a lot of drag, and the landing gear is down. Okay, so that's exactly what we're seeing on the instruments as well. The door lights are out, but the 3 gears are showing locked. And we should see the same on the overhead panel. Where is it? Here it is. It is exactly the same. Main landing gear down lock is showing green. Very good. So the alternate extension was successful. Fine. Then let's bring the gear lever into the down position now. And now let's get rid of the alternate gear extension handle. And when we get rid of that, then the main gear doors should close pretty quickly. And here they are, closed. Very good, so that worked pretty well. Okay, cool. So, in that case, let's go landing gear up again. Alright, the gear is coming up. The N1 is going down, obviously, so that all makes sense. Okay, quick check while it comes in my view. Let's have a look at the weather radar. So, we do obviously get some green indications here from the radar, which are all far below us. Now, interestingly enough, my tilt is set to turn up, so we should not have gotten anything. Now let's set it to -3, and we're getting the very same indication here. That is not what I would expect. So if I turn my tilt all the way up now, then I would expect 0 indications at all, because as you can see, there is simply no weather above us. So yeah, there is a weather radar over here, but it is not working. That's what we can say. For actual weather avoidance, useless, because, well, how are we supposed to circumnavigate weather if we don't know what we can find at our altitude? Okay, that much about the weather. I was going to set it somewhere then, and that's it. Okay. So that check is done. But let's go ahead and climb all the way up to 38,000. So, thrust speed alt 38,000 blue. Message, new cruise out, flight level 380. Checked. Let's fly a little bit more into the direction of our route. Let's do heading 070. Okay, we're set to MCT. Now that's a bit much. Let's go back to auto and climb. We don't need to climb up all the way at MCT. That's an unnecessary strain on the engines. But what we are going to do is just climb a little bit higher and see what we're going to get. So 38,000 is the target. Should be getting up there pretty quickly, I am convinced. And once we're up there, we can do a little further check on the pressurization system. Actually, we could obviously just do that check now. Let's go manual. Let's start raising our cabin. And this time we want the oxygen masks to come down. So this time we're going to bring the cabin altitude above 10,000. Interesting that we're getting fault indications here on the regulators when we go to manual pressure, but so be it. Okay, status says cabin pressure manual control. That's expected. Clear status. Okay, so returning back towards the route, nav, and profile. So that's still the minimum time climb. Let's do minimum fuel now. And this time the target speed is 250 for the minimum fuel climb. And if you go to Econ, then obviously it's going to take whatever the cost index recommends. 312 in this case. Let's see if changing the cost index has an influence. So let's do cost index 100. Yep, target 325. Cost index 0. Using cost index 0. Yeah. 308. Okay, whatever it's worth. Anyway, we'll just go for minimum fuel. So 250 is going to be the target then. Right, what's our distance from New York right now? 159 miles, that's fine. Okay, so maximum 390, optimum 390. In that case, we go 390. New cruise out flight level 390. We want to go all the way up to the maximum. Where's our route taking us? Could imagine it's trying to fly a turn somewhere over here, since that turn is definitely impossible to make for the airplane. But let's just insert a holding. So Bravo Tango Victor, hold. Inbound course minus 09. Interesting. No, that's not what we're gonna do. Give me 020. Right hand turns. Time 1.5. Looks good. Insert. Then let's do direct to Bravo Tango Victor. Insert. Okay. So that does look good to me now. Okay. Cabin pressure. Manual control. Yep. Remove status. We don't need that wheel page either anymore. Ah, no, we were on the memo page, not on the status page. Okay. This is a little bit different from the A330. And that memo up here, that just confused me. I was like, if there's something written up there and something below, it has to be a status page, right? But no. That's the status page. Okay, remove status. Looking good. Cool, so on the way up to 390, 10,000 to go. The cabin altitude is climbing. Here we go, 10,000. That's what I call timing. Okay, cabin altitude, access, cabin altitude, oxygen masks on. That is obviously our own masks at first. Then landing elevation check, descent as required. If rapid decompression, procedure emergency descent apply. Okay, so what I want to see now is that the cabin altitude, when it goes to 14,000, the passenger masks are automatically going to deploy. That is what we're checking for. So, clear cabin out. Remove status. That's looking good again. Cabin altitude is now 11,000. We want to see it at 14,000. That's where the masks need to come down. In the meantime, in this pretty little airplane, where is the switch for the masks? I believe that's it. Manual override. Not simulated. Cannot click that. Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe they still come down automatically. 12,000 foot cabin altitude now. Climbing up nicely at about 2,000 feet a minute. Interestingly enough, the outflow valves are, yeah, a little bit opened. That's quite correct, I would say. Okay. And the gear lever can go back off again. Okay, so cabin altitude is now 13,000. Still climbing. So what are we going to do next then? Well, when this test is complete and when we reach 39,000, first of all we're going to try an APU start again. And after the APU start we are going to go for an engine shutdown with a relight. Okay, approaching 14,000. At 14 the mast should come down. So that's 14,000 cabin altitude now. We don't get any memo about it. And we cannot extend them manually. Okay. No click spot over here. Okay, so that's what we got. Well, in that case, let's put the system back in auto. Wow, that is a quick change there. Those outflow valves are driving really quick. Okay, cabin altitude is under control. It's descending at 1,000 feet a minute. System 1 is active. Let's just switch to System 2, see what happens. Nothing, okay. Well, we'll stay on System 2 then. Alright, so, looking good. Cabin altitude is under control. All the memos are cleared again. That is fine. Alright, very good. I'm not sure if it is a reference there, but I do have an A310 FCOM, and the A310 FCOM says that at around about 11,300 feet, the seatbelt signs should have come on automatically. We don't see any seatbelt memo though. Let's just turn that on. So we should have gotten this. At least I'm rather sure we should. But then again, there might be differences between the A310 and the A300, 600 as well, so I'm not 100% sure I can comment on that. But okay, it's fine the way it is. The airplane's doing what it's supposed to do. We are slowly getting up to 39,000, still doing 1,000 feet a minute, that's alright. So I tend to say, so far the tests, except for the passenger masks, which did not drop automatically, apart from that, the test is okay. By the way, talk about passenger masks dropping automatically. How about we just go to the back and check if anything actually happened? No, okay. I kinda wished for a second that we would find some masks hanging down over here now, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so back into the cockpit. Alrighty. So, 3 more minutes till we reach our maximum altitude. Well, in that time, let's just go ahead and... what else can we do, really? Well, we still have the hydraulics to go, but we can't do that in the climb. We got the engines to go, which we likewise are not going to do in the climb. So, I would say with that, we are basically done with those checks we could do. Now, the only other one is the fuel system left, so how about we start with that now? Okay, so fuel, where is it? Here. Okay, right now the inner and the outer tanks are feeding, and we got a little bit of fuel in the trim tank as well there. Well, let's start with the trim tank, and we'll go to... do we have a manual transfer for the trim tank? Only got the trim tank isolation valves. Trim tank pump, center tank pump, auxiliary. Okay, tell you what. Okay, mode, forward. And this should now... Yep, it works. The trim tank is now transferring its fuel back into the center tank. Perfect. Okay, Let's turn that back off again. And now, after a short delay, the plane should start transferring fuel from the center back into the trim tank, unless the CG is still in the required envelope, which it looks to me like it is. So only when the CG reaches a certain point, here we go, transfer happens. So it was outside the envelope then, and it is starting to transfer it back into the trim tank. Interestingly enough, we don't get a memo about that. I would kind of have expected that, but looks like we don't. Okay, 1,000 to go. Okay, so that much about the trim tank transfer. Let's go ahead and try a couple of cross-feeding procedures then. We're going to start by turning the cross-feed valve on. So axe feed is open. And then let's shut off the pumps on the right-hand side. Here we go. Okay, so now we should only be using fuel from the left-hand side. Let's see if that is true. And why are those still showing open? Are they supposed to? But if we just keep an eye on our fuel usage, that actually looks quite... No, it is using from the inner tank. Okay. Well, let's put the isolation valves off then. Now the system should be isolated. Now it should be only the left tank providing fuel to the engines. So, if we just keep an eye on this, how's it working? It is still using fuel from the inner tank, you see that? It's still going down. So something is wrong with the fuel system there. Right now it should really be isolated, and only the left side should be feeding the... really only the left side should be feeding both engines. Also interesting is to see that the APU valve is showing open up there, which I would definitely not expect, because the APU is shut down, as we can see. And what's also interesting is that amber line over here, because there is fuel coming from the left side, so this should be all green now to engine number 2, because over here in that part there is fuel in the system. Okay, well, in that case, let's turn all the things back on. So it looks like even though the buttons up here are clickable, they don't really work. Okay, transfer back to close, and now every side of the system is feeding its associated part again. So that looks okay to me. I've entered a holding, by the way, up here at 39,000, so that we can now go ahead with the remainder of our checks. So next up, let's try an APU start. When driven from the AC system, the APU should be capable of starting at all the way up to 40,000. So let's go ahead, APU start. We'll press the timer. So let's see what is going to happen now. Also, TCAS can go to below already, because in a few moments we will need to initiate a cruise descent here. And the mode can go to Econ, which is where it is. Interesting. So Econ speed target seems to be below green dot. That is not right. But auto thrust is doing the right thing. It's maintaining green dot speed. It's not going below green dot. That is good. Okay, I tell you what though. Let's pull that out. Give me Mach 8-1, please. I just want to give myself a little bit of time for when the engine failure is, or rather for when we are going to shut an engine down. For that reason, I'm increasing the speed over here, so that when the speed starts dropping back, we got a little bit of additional time available. Okay, APU running, and that took just about a minute. That was very quick. Normally, at these altitudes, they would take like 2 or 3 minutes or something the likes, but that's okay. Alright, cool. So, APU is now running. Let's see. APU generator is feeding nothing. Main generators, number 1 and 2, are feeding the respective buses. So I just want to try something for a short moment here. And that is, we are operating on autopilot 1. Let's see what happens if I now take off the generator 1. Okay, the APU is taken over, but the autopilot is still flying. Okay. Elec, Gen 1 fault. Okay. And reset. Okay. So the APU is running already. That is quite good, because we will need it in a few moments, as we're about to shut down the engines. Now, let's just go ahead and leave the holding already. Direct to Alpha Lima Bravo. Insert. Not sure why it says 5 miles. Probably because the... yeah, look at that. 4.5 miles it says. Probably because the route interrupted itself over there. I guess once we're back on here, we are actually going to get the correct distance to Alpha Lima Bravo. But we'll see about it. We will see about it. Okay, so let's get rid of all those electrics. Just make sure the system is actually restored to normal ops, which it is. Okay, very good. So, now we start with the interesting stuff, which is engine malfunctions. First, a stupid question for Microsoft though. Why is my zoom, once again, stuck to this high level of zoom? And I cannot change it. That's typical Microsoft Flight Simulator once again. Okay, well, we're just going to continue like this and see what is going to happen. Maybe if we just go to the outside, we can reset that. It does look beautiful, that much I do have to say. It really does look beautiful. Okay, but my zoom is still stuck. Nice. Or not. Depends on how you want to see it. Okay, I do want to be able to zoom out a little bit though, so what are you doing, Macroshite? Look at that. I'm trying to zoom out, but... Okay, let's go to the camera menu. Look at that. Oh boy. Well, eventually at some point it is probably going to come back, even though I sometimes just don't realize when and how and what that little bug is about. Okay, in any case, let's go ahead and do a little bit of the engine related stuff. It's going to be interesting flying it that way though, if the zoom doesn't come back, but, well. Okay, I do suppose we're going to start just turning off engine number 2, and then we'll see if we can do an in-flight restart, and if that is successful, then we're going to do the same with engine number 1, so that we can verify that both of them are working as they should. 39,000 should be the maximum altitude right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, maximum 39,000. Okay, then. This is annoying, man. Okay, let's just give it a try. Engine 2, Shutdown. Engine is rolling down, speed is coming back. Okay. MCT is set. Number 1 is rolling up. Oh, we got zoom again. Nice. Okay, so. Push, pull. Couple degrees offset to get off the route. Speed is coming back. Then. Auto thrust disconnect. Speed is down at green dot, so let's match that speed and level change. Okay, and that is our drift down procedure now. Number 1 is set to max continuous. We should be getting somewhere around 1,000 feet a minute or so when we are stabilized. Okay, ECAM actions. Engine 2, fail. Ignition, continuous relight. Set. Throttle 2, idle. Okay, confirm. Throttle 2, confirmed. Idle. Okay. Fuel lever 2 off. Off. And if damage... No, we certainly don't have damage to the engine. Okay, so clear engine 2. Clear engine 2. Hydraulic. Green. Pump 2 low pressure. Well, stop the ECAM at this point, and we'll just see if we can do a relight. So, continuous ignition is on already. I don't think we've actually got an in-flight start position. Nope, so we'll just keep it on continuous relight. Let's have a look at the engine indications. So we have positive N1, we have EGT, we have N2, only the fuel flow is at 0. So let's go ahead and switch on the fuel again. And look at that, it's relighting straight away. Becoming rather hot though, it seems. But for engine in-flight starts, the ground EGT limitation doesn't count, so we can just let it go. We're just gonna make sure that we're not actually burning the engine. Okay. Looks good, it's coming back. And that looks like a good engine start to me. Systems are restoring. Let's wait for that status to clear itself. And here we go. Okay, let's see if it is responding. Yes, it is. Okay, stop the descent at 37. Interesting, we got no FMA on the right side. But that's probably because of the yaw damper down here. Okay, so, both engines are responding. Nice, just as they should. Let's get the speed up. 0.80. Auto thrust is on. Perfect. Okay, so ECAM actions, flight controls, yaw damper 2 off, reset. Okay, that's yaw damper 2, reset. Then we got pitch trim 2-fold, reset, pitch trim 2, reset. Okay, problem solved, and now the FMA is back on the right side as well. Very good. Okay, cool, back direct to Alpha Lima Bravo, cruise flight level above max flight level. That's probably because of the engine out. Let's see if we can reset that somewhere. Yeah, engine out page. Interesting, that leads me directly to the Econ descent page, but let's not care about that for now. I'm just searching for a button where I can reset the engine out condition. Normally you should be able to. Okay, doesn't matter though. Let's go direct to Alpha Lima Bravo again. And then let's try the same thing for the left engine. Oh, where is nav mode going? It's supposed to go to the left, my friend. To the left. Well, let's see if we can reset the cruise level. We just enter 370. Still an engine out cruise. How can we clear that? Should be able to clear it somehow. But I'm not sure how. On the A330, you would just have a clear EO prompt. But we don't have that over here. Okay, well, doesn't matter. Let's do the other engine. So, engine 1. Spooling down. Engine 1 fail. Ignition, continuous relight. And throttle 1 idle. Confirm. Throttle 1 confirmed. Idle. We'll wait for the speed to come back. Maybe we can even recover the engine before we reach green dot. Then we don't even need to start a drifter down. Okay, so fuel lever 1 off. It's off. And if damage, we don't have damage. Clear engine 1. Clear engine 1. Stop ecam. Let's try the restart attempt. So we have N1. We have N2. Okay. And continuous is already selected. Fuel on. EGT is rising. Speed is still looking good, stable above green dot. Keeping an eye on both our speed as well as the EGT right now, just to make sure that we don't fry the engine on a normal check, because that would be a little unfortunate. Okay, the generator is alive again. We're down at green dot speed. Let's see if the engine is responding. It is. Very good. Okay, so both engines restarted successfully. Yaw damper 1 off. Yeah, we'll put that back on as well. Okay, so that's all looking good. In that case, ignition off, and we had the APU on standby here, but APU can come off as well now. Alright, very good. So let's go up to Mach 0.8 again, auto thrust on. I'll keep it in MCT until we have accelerated again, and then we'll take it back in a cruise mode. Okay, so that is looking pretty good right now. Cool. Let's just do a quick recall. Normal. Great. Is it stuck over there now? Try it again. Recall. Ah, okay. If I go to another page, then it works. Fine. That is good enough for me. Alright, cool. So, that lovely stuff is done now. 200 miles to destination. So, let's go back down to flight level 180. And then we're going to do the hydraulic stuff. 180, level change, and the thrust mode is back in order. Cool. So what I want to try now is how the airplane is going to respond if we basically do the emergency descent. So thrust idle, maximum speed brake. Let's see how much we can get out of it. 6,000. Great. 7.5 pitch down. Even coming down a little bit further. Let's see that from the outside for a moment. That looks quite impressive, doesn't it? Man, 12 degrees pitch down. It's going to be interesting to see if it can actually level off like that. Or if it is going straight into the overspeed. That's quite a pitch down right now. Okay, here it starts pulling up again. Oh, target speed, you go right to the top, please. 330. So it is doing a pretty good job at descending. It is definitely doing a pretty good job at it. Okay, reaching the target speed. Let's see if it is going to go into the overspeed or if it maintains it. Yeah, it's maintaining it. Very good. Excellent. Still doing more than 6,000 feet a minute. That's just perfect. Obviously, the next interesting question now is... Oh, overspeed. Okay, alt star. Let's see if it levels off correctly. Speed brakes in. Okay, 1,000 to go. Looks like it's approaching a nice level off there. So even when descending at very high vertical speeds, the plane is still capable of leveling off. That's very good. I know more than one flight simulator airplane that would simply bust its altitude. This one doesn't. Very good. Great. Okay, let's get the speed back down into a reasonable regime, looking at something like 250 knots over here. And then we are going to try turning off a couple of the hydraulic systems to see how that is going to work. In the meantime, where's our destination? Yeah, still have a bit of time. Okay, cruise 180. Here we go. Just not sure how to get it out of the engine out cruise now. If some of you knows, then do put it in the comments below. On the A330 you could just press clear engine out on the performance page and that's it, but looks like we definitely don't have that in here. Okay, so be it. We can live with that. So, speed is coming back nicely. Very good. That's what I want to see. Okay, so let's start with a simple single hydraulic failure. Okay, engine B pump off. Hydraulic blue pump off. Blue system low pressure. That's it. Clear hydraulic. Okay. Flight controls. Sled system 1 fault. Spoiler 7 fault. Off, then reset. Okay, that's spoiler 7 off, then reset. Or does the off underscore R simply indicate it wants us to turn it off? Because the caption on the switch is off R, and the R in an Airbus cockpit basically means you can reset that system by turning it off and on again. Would be a little bit confusing if it actually called for it like that, but let's try. Okay, so spoiler 7 off. That's spoiler 7 off. And then spoilers 3 and 2 fault off. So spoilers 3 and 2. And is it sure about that? The fault light is on 4 and 1. Definitely says 3 and 2 though. That's interesting. That does look like a bug to me. So normally you should press the button where the fault is on. And the fault is on 4 and 1, not on 3 and 2. Perhaps that's a bug. Let's see. Flight control. Okay, this is showing 4 and 1. Just like this. So it's probably going to be a bug over here that it should say 4 and 1 rather than 3 and 2. Because if I use 3 and 2 now, then what's going to happen is this. Now I basically killed almost all my spoilers except for numbers 5 and 6. So that does seem like a bug to me. Let's do it like that. 4 and 1 off. So now number 3 and 2 should still be available. It does say fault over here, but I want to try that. Let's just go autopilot off. Let's use a little bit of aileron. Yeah, look at that, number 3 is still working. So that is a bug on the ECAM. Okay, autopilot back on. We found a bug, gentlemen. We found a bug. This should say 4 and 1, not 3 and 2. Okay, clear flight controls. Leaves us with the ones for 4 and 1. Okay, clear flight controls. Status. Procedure, hydraulic system low pressure. Procedure, fuel consumption increased. Landing distance multiplied by 1.3. Hydraulic blue system inerp. Spoilers partially inerp. Blue servo inerp. Slats slow. Okay, slats slow is something that I want to see in action. So let's bring the speed down. And I want to extend my flaps. Or rather my slats, and I want to see how long they're actually going to take to extend. That's going to be an interesting test now, seeing how quickly the slats are going to drive, because that will tell us something about how the system works internally, namely whether the slats and flaps are just set to drive at a predetermined speed, or if they actually depend on the hydraulic pressure inside the system. So this test is going to tell us quite something about how the system works. Okay, VFE 250, we are well below that. Slats 15. So let's monitor the extension. So guys, do take note of this, and later when we extend the slats in the approach, when we will have all the systems restored, then compare it and let me know what you think. But I do believe this is actually taking longer than usual right now. I think they are really slow. Not just the ECAM text, but the system is actually behaving like it. Yeah, they are. Normally they are much faster. Very cool. So this actually works. Okay, good. The reason why the slats are slow is that the slats are driven from the blue and the green hydraulic system, both of them. So they got a backup. And if only a single one of the two systems fails, then the slats are going to be slow. If both of them fail, they're going to be inoperative. And that is what we're going to try next. So now we've got the blue engine 1 pump off. Let's turn the green engine 1 pump off. And that is going to become a severe emergency now. So, show me that hydraulic page. Okay, green engine 1 pump is off. The green engine 2 pump is still providing pressure to the system. Now let's shut the green engine 2 pump off. Okay, hydraulic. Blue and green hydraulic system, low pressure. Okay, so airplane is under control. Let's go to FPV. Auto thrust is still maintaining the thrust nicely. Okay then. So, ecam actions. Land ASAP in red. Dual hydraulic system, low pressure. Okay, clear hydraulic. Flight controls. It's interesting that there were no further actions on there. I would definitely have expected a couple more ecam actions. Okay, flight controls. Slat system 2 fault. That's confirmed, both of them actually. Pitch feel 1 fault. Off. Okay, that is pitch feel, where is it? Here. 1 off. Okay. Spoilers 5 fault. Off. Let's see. Spoilers 5. That's number 6, not number 5. But this one definitely says spoiler 5 fault. What do we have on the ecam then? Okay, that's number 6, not number 5. So something is wrong in the spoiler logic, that's for sure. But okay then. Spoiler 5. Off. Clear flight controls? Clear. Okay then, status. Now this is the interesting thing about a dual hydraulic failure in an Airbus. Just look at the sheerly insane amount of procedures you've got in here and information you got in there. Also, you can see that by the status indicated down there, this is not even everything. There is much more to it than what we've just got over here. Okay, so if we just hit the status button again, then we can scroll down. Just look at that. More and more failures down there. But okay. Flaps slow. This is now as well, because the flaps, just like the slats, are driven from the green and the yellow system. So by the green and the blue now being off, only the yellow system is driving the flaps. And for that reason, the flaps are going to be slow. But let's try. Flaps 15. Let's see how long they're going to take to extend. Okay, here they are. And now I want to mess the flight model over completely. Now let's take the flaps out completely while the slats are stuck in the 15 position. I want to see what's going to happen with the flight model. I wouldn't be surprised if something completely unexpected happens, if the plane just totally freaks out. Because if iniBuilds really took this into account in their programming, then my respect. I know many developers wouldn't. Okay, flaps 40. Landing gear not down, that's copied. Can we clear that? Yes. Okay, it actually works. Quite cool, isn't it? Alright then, let's go ahead and turn those hydraulics on again. Okay, they're coming back. Just waiting for the systems to recover completely. Here we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and retract those slats and flaps. Then we can recover everything up here. Don't lose our altitude, please. So, nav mode, where are you taking us? We should be going to the right and mount to Lolly. Okay, next limit is 215. So let's go to 10. Okay, so let's retract. Okay, new speed limit 250. Heading 230 for now. Let's stabilize the entire thing, and when everything is stable we're going to re-engage the autopilot, and then we'll have a quick look over our airplane to make sure that everything is actually still, or is that everything is back to normal again. Okay, plane is in trim, more or less. Come on, into the flight director, please. That's looking good. Okay, autopilot's on. Let's go direct to Lolly. Insert. And that is looking good. Nav. Okay, so I just want to try one more thing with the hydraulics, and that is, now that we've had the failure of the blue and the green, I want to try the green and the yellow together. So let's go ahead and do that. It is going to once again disengage and destabilize everything. So let's just bring the speed up towards 250. That's where I want it to be. And then we'll just wait until the autopilot has stabilized everything, and then we're going to try one more time turning 2 hydraulic systems off. And this time we want to see the slats still operating but slow, and the flaps completely inoperative. Okay, so this is looking good now. So green engine pumps off. That kicks the autopilot already. Let's see, autopilot 2 is still available, good. Okay, so hydraulic, green pump 1 off, green pump 2 off. Green system low pressure, brake any skid, alternate on. Okay, brake any skid, alternate on. And that's ECAM actions complete. Okay, yellow engine pump off. This time no autopilot is available anymore. Okay, so hydraulic, green and yellow system low pressure. Okay, this is more like what I would expect when I get a dual hydraulic failure. Several action lines and consecutive failures. That is kind of what I expected. Okay, so let's just go present heading. Okay, ECAM actions. Hydraulic, green and yellow system low pressure. Land 8 up in red. Maximum speed 285 knots or Mach 0.78. Elevator with care above speed 170. Okay, so let's see how that responds. Tiny bit of elevator here. Looking good. Well controllable. Nice. Okay. Brake any skid, alternate off. And here we go, alternate off. GPWS, flap override. So that's GPWS, flap override. If yellow pump fail, let's see. And no yellow hydraulic fluid. We do have the fluid. Okay. Rat on. Okay, well that is not the case. So, gonna keep the rat off. Okay. Clear hydraulic. So, that's about it, is it? Okay, clear hydraulic. And here we go, flight controls. Pitch field 2 fault, off. So, flight controls, pitch field 2, off. Those pitch field computers are probably the reason why they're set to maneuver with care. Spoiler 6 fault, off. Okay, spoiler 6, off. Spoilers 4 and 1 fault, off. So, spoilers 4 and 1, off. Interestingly enough, here again, the fault light is on 3 and 3 and 2. Sorry, on 5 and 3 and 2, but not on 4 and 1. So, something is wrong with the association of the spoilers to the different hydraulic systems there. Okay, clear flight controls. Clear flight controls. Then next we've got pitch trim 1 and 2 fault. Pitch trim manual. Okay, so we got a trim with a wheel. Then maximum speed 285 or Mach 0.78. Okay, we're doing 250, that's good. Maximum flight level 350, we're below that. If manual control in-up, procedure stabilizer jammed. That's not the case. Clear flight controls. And then we've got another flight controls. Slat system 2 fault. Yep, is confirmed. And is associated since system 2 is running off the green hydraulic system. Okay, pitch field 1 fault off. So that's pitch field system 1 off. And spoiler 5 fault off. So spoiler 5 off. Okay, clear flight controls. Clear flight controls. Status. Okay, normally, obviously at this point we would stop the ECAM and we would start thinking if we can do a system reset. Obviously we can in this condition, so we wouldn't need to worry about that. There's a couple interesting things now for us that we can take from the status page down here. And that is slats slow, flaps, not sure why they are showing slow. At least if the A300's hydraulic system is similar to the A330, then the flaps would be completely inoperative. But tell you what, let's find out. Oh, oopsie. Yeah, but look at that, the airplane is correcting nicely for it, so speed is coming down. Let's do 200. Okay, the slats are slow, that's expected, and the flaps are not moving at all, it seems. Let's just wait until the slats are in 15 so that we can actually verify if anything is going to happen. Because now we got a pretty interesting situation from the pilot's point of view. Let's take that speed really back. We approach 118, so we just go down to something like, says landing speed increment plus 10, so let's do 128. And as we're going down with our speed, we're going to get the slats out further until we're basically all the way at max. Oh, come on. Okay, flaps 30, huh? Good. Looking good. So, and what we're getting now... Okay, flaps 40, landing gear not down is copied, that's intentional. Clear landing gear. So what we're getting now is the following. We will have the slats available, but not the flaps. And that configuration basically tells us that the pitch is going to be very high on the approach, because we can reduce the speed due to the additional lift we're getting from the slats, but we don't get the pitch reducing effect of the flaps. So when I'm leveling off now, let's maintain 17.8. To be honest, I would expect an even higher pitch. I would have expected something about 7.5 to 10 degrees over here, because we don't have flaps. So, internally from a flight model standpoint, I would kinda guess that right now, flight sim internally, the flaps are out, and that they are only not shown on the indicator over here. Because this is definitely too little pitch. We should need more pitch. It does look interesting though, to have the slats out and the flaps still retracted. But okay. Well, it's just a small test I wanted to do there, so let's get the speed back up. Okay then, we'll do a left-hand turn back into the direction of the airport. Let's do 090. Okay, slats retract. But apart from that, the plane flies nicely with the hydraulic failures, so I would say we found a couple of small mismatches, but honestly, this is one of the most complex malfunctions you can get in pretty much any Airbus. So, I would say we can be quite happy with what we have over here. And even though not perfect, there were a couple things that didn't work 100%. Even though not perfect, overall it did a pretty good job. Okay, now we just gotta get the slats back in. I'll tell you what, let's just turn the hydraulics back on. By the way, lovely, lovely view, isn't it? Just watch the level of detail over here in the systems. Just watch that. That's looking really good. Okay, let's not climb away. Yeah, I'm going to restore all that stuff now. Looking good. So, down to 18,000, heading 090, like that. Okay, autopilot 1. Maintaining heading, maintaining altitude, looking very good. Okay, I do believe that should be all systems restored now. Let's just run a quick inspection of the entire cockpit to be really sure that everything is the way we want it to be. Okay, the only thing up here is the oxygen supply, but that is known. Cabin altitude is again under control. Everything's looking good up here. Then going down to the main panel. Looks to me like all the switches are back in place where they are supposed to be. Very good. Okay, so with that we've completed the system part of our thing. So let's go direct to Landy. Insert. Nav. We'll take the speed down to 20 or something the likes. Then we can start our descent towards 10,000. Level change. Looking good. And then we can start our approach towards Kennedy Airport. So, arrival. Is it the Kingston one that we're flying? Yes, it is. From India Golf November, Kingston. Very good. Okay, so landing should have been level 190 and 250 knots. Hey, where's my plane turning? You're supposed to go to landing, my friend. And where's my chart gun? Interesting. Okay, I don't care. Just give me the approach chart. Let's see what the latest weather is. 320 at 12 and 299 at 5. Okay. So set altimeters 299 at 5, and let's go direct to LaGuardia VOR now. $295 cross check, 16,500. Now, checked. Okay, this time navigation seems to look okay. Yeah, it is. Very good. Okay then, approach is gonna be 31 rights with an ILS. 314 111.5. Minimum's 212. Set on the left side and set on the right side. Good. Okay, approaching couple of clouds, engine anti-ice on. Looking good. So let's see, we did insert cathode for the arrival, so let's just quickly review what we have. So, cathode 3000 or above, moldy 3000 or above. We have both of those. Then we've got Zulet 1900, and that's what we have in here as well. Very good. Okay, for the missed approach, let's see that. Climb to 1800, then climb left turn to 4000, up on LaGuardia VOR radial 207 to Muffa. Okay, so LaGuardia VOR, let's navigate not in database. Are you serious? LGA. It's literally what it auto-tuned. Well, that is a bug. That's a bug for sure. Okay. Well, so be it. It auto-tuned the correct navigate, so I can't be bothered with it. Okay, so that's it, and climbing to 4000 on the missed approach. Very good. Then let's do a quick approach briefing. So, pilot monitoring, lead the way, please. Okay, MSA 2900, the highest over Manhattan, and it is radar vectors for an ILS approach 31 right. Minimum's 212, and go around trajectory straight at left turn outbound on the LaGuardia VOR radial climb to 4000. Extra fuel and time. Is 59 minutes, 9,600 pounds. Okay, guidance for the approach is going to be localizer and glide slope, and we have flaps. Well, tell you what, we can easily do a flap 20 landing out of this. So let's do 15 and 20. That's 128 knots the approach. Let's do 5 knots of correction, so we end up with 132. Here we go. Okay, so 133 on the approach speed. Stop margin is plenty. Reversers will be used in idle. Auto brakes low. Runway exit is going to be to the left, and then we'll taxi back to the maintenance apron. Okay. Hotspots for taxi in. Yeah, the entire airport, to be honest. Can be a little bit confusing at times. All right. Do you see any threats for the arrival? Nope. Okay. Arrival briefing complete. Then let's go down to 3000. And increasing 250 again. GPS primary, accuracy high. Approach checklist, please. Signs on, briefing confirmed, ecam status checked, altimeters 29905, passing 9300 now. Minimums 212, ignition continuous, landing elevation 0, approach checklist complete. Around about 2000 feet a minute seems quite okay to me, but let's help it a bit. Okay then, right hand downwind, and as soon as our altitude permits we can start the turn to the final. .6 about to enter the clouds. Let's turn the lights back on, it used to be rather dark down there. Oh, and the flap override mode of the GPWS can go off again. That was still on from the previous hydraulic failure. Okay then, let's start getting that speed back, 220 or so. It is quite dark inside the clouds here, isn't it? Okay, base turn 220. Direct catheters to clean up the flight plan. And here's our glide slope, so speed brakes going back in. Speed back 200. Okay, descend 1900, and for the right heading 280, cleared ILS 31 right. .17 knots of headwind this time, so that's all good. It's getting so dark, I'm turning on all the cockpit lights. Glide slope local outer blue, Cat 3 dual. Slats 15. Speed checked. Slats 15. Lock star. Roma heading 313 set. Vertical speed. Okay, Roma is inside. And as soon as we intercept the glide slope, we are going to be sure to keep configuring the airplane. 8 miles out now. Okay, flaps 15. So this is normal speed for the flaps, as you can see, quite a bit faster than what we had with the hydraulic failure. Gear down. Flaps 20. 133 approach speed. Engine anti-ice off. Landing checklist. Landing gear down, auto brake, low, anti-skid, checked. Slats flaps, 1520. Spoilers, armed, landing checklist complete. Glide slope capture. Go around altitude 4000 set. Okay, manual flight. Okay, and with that we are fully established. Something that I really like on the A300 in the sim is that you can see my control column just on the bottom of the screen there, so you can get a rather good idea on what I am doing on the control column while I'm flying the airplane. So lots of people tend to just move it all over the place, but you really don't need to, and this plane gives me the opportunity to show you how little input you really need in order to fly an aircraft, compared to what many flight simmers are doing, which is just totally going nuts on the controls. Obviously, keeping it in trim is key to everything. If your plane is not in trim, then you will never be able to get a smooth control column movement. Looking quite cool, isn't it? Land. Approaching minimum. Checked.
200.
Minimum. Continue. Spoilers. Reverse green, decel. Manual brakes. 70 knots. And welcome back to New York. So let's vacate the runway, and then we're almost at the maintenance apron already again. Okay then, runway vacated. After landing checklist. Slide flaps, retracted, transponder, XPDR, weather radar, off, spoilers, disarmed, APU, started. After landing checklist complete. Interesting bridge. So we'll just keep going on Bravo until we eventually find the maintenance area, and then we can make a turn out to the right. So let's talk about feedback then. Well, my first impression is that most of the stuff actually is working rather well in the Airbus. Be it the engine restart in flight, be it the most part of the hydraulic failures, or be it stuff like the manual control. There's a little bit of stuff there, like for example the spoilers not being assigned to the hydraulic systems that I called for in the ECAM actions. Also, when we did the green and blue hydraulic system failure, we basically got no ECAM actions indicated there for the particular failure in question, which I'm not 100% sure if that is correct behavior. Probably rather isn't. But overall, the airplane did perform quite good. So let's try one more thing now, that's single engine taxi. So the APU is avail, shutdown engine 2. Okay then, we are not going on Sierra, but we're going on Romeo, that's the second taxiway. Okay, so Romeo is over here. A little bit hard to see everything. Okay, 10 knots. Into the turn. That is looking good. So let's see how the airplane is going to perform on single engine taxi. Wow, I'm just looking at the watch and I see it's 1 hour and 52 minutes just for the flight alone. That was quite longer than I initially expected. I thought like it would be a 1 hour thing at best, but we made almost 2 hours. That's quite impressive. Okay then, so we came out of here this morning. And we are going in here right now. So no vehicles coming, looks good. So right now, no rudder input at all, no tiller input, and the plane is going almost straight on single engine taxi. That's very good. That's how it should be. Okay, entering the ramp, lights coming off. And the second spot is ours. Of course there is no ramp agent here or no marshaller. Well, that's fine. We can park ourselves. Brake set. Okay, engines below 20%. Parking checklist. APU bleed on, engines off, differential pressure 0, lights and signs set, fuel pumps off, window and probe heat off, parking brake and shocks brake set. Parking checklist complete. Alright guys, and that's it. I do hope that you enjoyed this little trip, and I do hope that you learned something about the iniBuilds A300 as well. If you were still undecided whether this is a plane for you to get or not, maybe this video sheds a little bit of insight into it. Certainly from my personal perspective, it is well worth the asking price of 42 British pounds, taxes included, and I am really looking forward to hear your opinion on this video now. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you've got suggestions for videos, then feel free to put them in the comments as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Now there is one last test we gotta run, and that is on the ground equipment. Slides are armed. Let's go ahead and open that door. Let's see if we can fire a slide over here. Yes, we can! We did fire a slide. Very cool. So that's the last test completed here. Okay, doors. Left forward cabin not closed. Yeah, intentional, my friend. Intentional. Okay. Shocks in position. Ground power in position. I do believe this is the first flight sim aircraft where we can actually shoot a slide, right? The dream of every flight attendant. Alright guys, time to hop out. Thank you very much for watching. See you all again on the next one. And in the meantime, if you really liked my videos, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. But until then, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching and see you all again on the next one.